Okay, so this will be the last video about how to conjugate verbs in the subjunctive. All other videos about the subjunctive will be actually creating sentences. I'm going to talk a little bit really quickly about how that's going to go with the subsequent videos at the very end of this one. This is for car, gar, and zar verbs. So where should you remember, like where should you, what part of your memory should you pull on, tug on, whatever, to try to figure out when you have heard of car, gar, and zar verbs? Maybe a couple places that might come to mind first. The first place might have been for certain conjugations in the preterite. Is the first time that you would have heard about car, gar, and zar verbs. And another time that we had to deal with car, gar, and zar verbs, that would have been with formal usted commands. I told you I was going to be mentioning formal usted commands several times because really they kind of are the starting point for a lot of the conjugations in the subjunctive. So again, if you need any help, if anything that I say about car, gar, and zar verbs does not ring true for you almost immediately, look back at either preterite, some conjugations in the preterite, and or for look back at formal usted commands. But I'm going to go ahead and assume that we do remember things about car, gar, and zar verbs, because I know that most of you do, honestly. And this is how you do car, gar, and zar verbs in the subjunctive. So I have a couple of them already pre-done, and I'm going to do one example of each so that we know how to do them, kind of in order of difficulty. So we'll start with the easiest one first, and that will be gar verbs. So I guess the thing that a question that students have asked me in the past is, how do I know if a verb is car, gar, or zar? Very simply, it ends in car, gar, or zar. And that's how you know. People have said, do I have to memorize them? No. Whenever you look at the verb in its infinitive form, just look back one letter past the AR, and if you see a G, a Z, or a C, then you know you have a car, gar, or zar verb on your hands. So easiest first, gar, G-A-R at the end, and we're going to do the verb llegar, or in some dialects for Spanish speakers, it will be llegar, and that means to arrive, llegar, to arrive. So it's right here. We have llegar, to arrive, and the thing that we have to remember with gar verbs is that G is going to convert itself into a GU combination. Again, you have seen this with the preterite sometimes, and also with formal usted commands. So that G is going to turn into a GU combination. We're still going to be doing the subjunctive, obviously. So all of these car, gar, and zar verbs are obviously going to have ER verb looking endings or opposite endings in the subjunctive in every single box, because there's a subjunctive in every single box. And that GU combination, instead of just the G that we find up here, is going to happen in every single box or every single conjugation as well. So we're not going to skip any steps, just like always, and we're going to take the verb llegar, to arrive, back to the yo conjugation of the present tense, and we will get llego or llego, something like that. So we're going to plunk it down right here. And we have L-L-E-G-O, llego. And then our second step would be to drop the O. So we'll do that. And then we can do it one of two ways. We can either do it wrong and fix it, remembering that it is a gar verb, or we can just do it right the first time. I'm going to show you guys what it would look like if it was wrong and we had to fix it. So we have this L-L-E-G. Let's pretend we didn't know it happened to be a gar verb. And we just decided, well, we're just going to add on the subjunctive endings. It's just going to be an E. And we just add an E here. That is wrong. That's not even a word. If it were a word, it would be pronounced yay, and that is not a word. why is that wrong? Because we know that with GAR verbs, we have to have a GU combination and then drop down the E. If you want to do it wrong like this, just you can go through all the steps, that's totally fine. But just remember to shove in a U right here. So it would look like this. L, L, E, G, next letter would be a U because of this GU thing that has to happen. And then we would add on the appropriate subjunctive ending. So we get yay, L, L, E, G, U, E. And that will be our U conjugation for the subjunctive. One mistake the students often make with some of these verbs is they'll put an accent mark for some odd reason because they've seen something like this with an accent mark. You're thinking of the preterite. If you happen to leave it like this, llegue or llegue, you are conjugating the verb in the subjunctive. If you happen to erroneously put an E with an accent mark at the end, you've turned it into llegué, which is I arrived. That's the preterite tense. Do not make the mistake of putting in accent marks just because it will look familiar to you. The reason for which it looks familiar to you is because you're thinking of the preterite. This is not the preterite, this is the subjunctive, so we do not put an accent mark there. And once again, so our yo conjugation for llegar in the subjunctive will be llegue, L, L, E, G, U, and then the E, which is our normal subjunctive conjugation for that box when it's an AR verb. Again, I remind you that GU is going to occur in every single one of these boxes, and we're going to have those opposite endings in every single one. So if we want to look at this one as our model and then just kind of keep on going, we will have for the tu conjugation, we'll have L, L, E, G, U, E, S. Llegues. Down here, L, L, E, G, U, E. Llegue, again. Up here, L, L, E, G, U, E, M, O, S. Lleguemos. And down here, L, L, E, G, U, E, and lleguen. So llegar in the subjunctive, remembering that our G changes to a G-U combination, and then we add all of those opposite ER verb looking endings to our AR verb. We have llegue, llegues, llegue, lleguemos, lleguen. Let's come over here to car verbs. Car verbs obviously end in C-A-R. I have two examples up here for you, one already done and one that we'll do together. Tocar and sacar are the two examples that I have. All of these things are obviously, again, available to you in your course materials that I have provided for you. The thing to remember with car verbs is that the C is going to change to a Q-U combination. So again, kind of like whenever we did llegar, we said, okay, we could do it wrong the first time and then fix it, or just do it right from the beginning. Just depends. Some students need to go through the steps and kind of do it systematically and say, well, this is how it would be if I just did it as if it were normal, and then make the car, gar, or zar switch. And if you do it like that, that's okay. Just make sure that once you've done it the wrong way and then account for the car, gar, or zar switch that needs to occur. I mean, just make sure that you do that and that you don't leave it wrong. So car verbs, again, will have the C changing to a Q, U. And we'll look at the verb tocar. The verb tocar means to touch. It can also mean to play, like music. A lot of people want to say musical instrument. Yeah, it can be to play the clarinet or the flute or drums or guitar or whatever, but it can also be just to play music. So you can play music on your whatever, your Spotify or something like that. Just to play music in general is tocar música. And so we look at the verb tocar. Here we go. We have this C that is going to change to the Q-U combination. You guys, I'm looking at the screen right now, and I realize you can just see my hand. Just bear with me. It's totally fine. I'll come into view on occasion. This stuff up here is more important than you looking at me anyways. So Tocar, the C is going to change to a QU. And we're going to do like this. We'll not want to skip steps. We're going to take it to the yo box of the present tense. So it will be toco, T-O-C-O. And then the next thing we want to do is get rid of the O. Step 2. And then what we would normally do is we would just add on an E, but that is wrong. Why is it wrong? Because the C is still there, and the C needs to change to what? To Q-U. So we're going to make sure that we account for that. So we're going to change the C to a Q-U, and then add on an E, which is the appropriate conjugation for the subjunctive. Remember, a lot of students want to like throw in an accent mark over that. That would be wrong. That would be the predicate. If you happen to throw in an accent mark over the final E, it would be pronounced toqué, which is I touched or I played music, maybe. This is not the predicate. This is not the past. This is the subjunctive. So no accent mark there. And it's not pronounced toqué. It's pronounced toque. With the C changing to a QU. Then, following suit, we're going to make all those other C's and all the other boxes with the verb tokai change to a QU and do like this. So it'll be with conjugation T-O-Q-U-E-S, toques, and then T-O-Q-U-E, toque. Up here in the nosotros, T-O-Q-U-E-M-O-S. Remember still that C is changing to a Q-U, and then we have the E-M-O-S, the proper subjunctive conjugation. This is pronounced toquemos, and then down low we have T-O-Q-U-E-N, toque. So this will be toque, toques, toque. And then toquemos, toque. The verb sacar, you generally see it whenever you talk about like to take something out, like to take out your notebooks or take out your books, whenever you're talking about sacar los libros, or maybe to take out the trash, sacar la basura. But the verb sacar is also a car verb. That C will change to a QU, as you can see up here. We have sake, S-A-Q-U-E, and then everything else kind of falling in the same line of that C changing to a Q-U. How do we get there? If we take it, the verb sacar, back to the yo conjugation of the present tense, we had saco, S-A-C-O. We would drop that O, and then we would have to change that C to a Q-U, and then add the appropriate endings for the subjunctive. Which would be those ER verb looking endings. So we have S-A-Q-U-E, no accent mark, because if you put sake with an accent mark on the E, that would be I took out the trash, or I took out my book, for example. But this is a subjunctive, no accent mark, so it's not pronounced sake. No, poop. It's not pronounced sake, it's pronounced sake. And then we have sakes, sake, saquemos, saquen. And then we go to the trickier ones. The czar verbs, I'm going to call them czar verbs, even though I reminded you that Z's in Spanish do not make Z sounds, they make S sounds. In case you might have forgotten, we have comenzar, empezar, and almorzar. The reason for which I say that they are the more complicated of these kinds of verbs is because the majority of czar verbs are not only czar verbs, but they're also stem change verbs. I know, it's a pain. So we're going to have to remember two things with most czar verbs. And I say most, but go ahead and think about all of czar verbs being both stem change and also czar verbs in the subjunctive. So czar verbs. First thing we have to remember is that the Z is going to change to a what? To a C. Just because there are actually reasons for which these spell changes occur. If anybody really wants to know the why this changes to a C or a GU or a QU, let me know. I have the answer, I can tell you, but for anybody who doesn't care, I don't want to bore you with it. It just has everything to do with like hard vowel sounds and soft vowel sounds and what makes hard vowels and soft vowels happen and whatever. And I can give you an in-depth explanation on your own time. If anybody is planning on continuing Spanish classes, it would be a really, really, really beneficial thing to know. But for the purposes of this video, I will just say just cause, even though there really is a cause why it happens. Anyhow, so with dar verbs, the Z is always going to change to a C. And looking at our first verb as an example, comenzar. By the way, comenzar and empezar are often used as interchangeable in Spanish. Comenzar is like to commence, and empezar is like to begin. So pretty much the same thing. Obviously, they have technical differences, but they're used pretty much interchangeably. Using our first example, we can see that this is a stem change verb as well. So we have the zar thing happening with the Z changing to a Z, but this is also an E to IE stem change verb. Remember back to your video about stem change verbs in the subjunctive. So in which box is the stem change not going to occur? It's not going to occur here in the nosotros conjugation. So that E to IE stem change will not happen in the nosotros conjugation. But the thing to remember is that this Z changing to a C, because it's a zar verb, will happen in every single box. So a couple different things to remember, but here we go. We're going to start with the first step, and that's going to be taking this back to the yo conjugation of the present tense. That can be tricky for some of us. So step one might be already a little bit weird. It's not going to fit in this box. Just get ready for it. It's just not going to fit here. Yo box, where yo conjugation of the present tense would be comienzo. So it'll be like this, and I will read it out for you. Comienzo, C-O-M-I-E-N-Z-O. Notice that there is an E to I-E stem change that occurred right here, and that I still have my Z because it's the yo conjugation of the present tense. My second step would be to do what? To drop the O. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then, hold on, don't go anywhere. I'm moving my line, I think. Okay, I'll put it back in here. It's gonna go off on the other side too. That's fine. So again, we started out with the yo conjugation of the present tense, and we had comienzo, C-O-M-I-E with a stem change, N-Z-O. We dropped the O. We had a technical difficulty, and then now we're going to start making the subjunctive, which should be just adding an E here. But what do we have to remember? We have to remember that that Z has to change to a C. So we could just add the E here and then erase this, kind of do the switch of the Z to a C, but we're going to do it all at once. So that Z will change to a C, and then we'll add our appropriate subjunctive conjugation for AR verbs, which would be an E. And now finally, after all those things to keep in mind, we have our yo conjugation of comenzar in the subjunctive. Comience. Comience, remember, is not only a zar verb in which the Z has to change to a C, but it is also a stem change, E to IE verb. So a couple of things to keep in mind. Following this, comience, our tu conjugation will be comiences. So I'll jot that down. C-O-M-I-E-N-C-E-S. And how did we get there? Because we still have our E to IE stem change that occurs because it's a stem change verb. And we added our appropriate subjunctive endings. And we also had to remember that this is a ZAR verb. And so the Z changes to a C, and that's how we had a C right here. This conjugation will be comience. We're not going to do this one. We're going to go down here, which will be comiencen. C-O-M-I-E-N-C-E-N. Again, how do we get there? E to IE stem change we had to keep in mind, and also the thing we had to keep in mind about the Z changing to a C, because it's a ZAR verb. We save this conjugation box de nosotros for last, because what do we have to remember about that? We have to remember that there is no E to IE stem change. So we're going to go back to this E that was here in the infinitive, but that we still do, in fact, do the Z changing to a C because it is a ZAR verb in the subjunctive. So whenever we do this one, and whenever it falls off my box here, I'll read it to you. It's going to go like this. Comencemos. And how did we get there? We did not do the E to IE stem change. We left this E that we found in the infinitive. We did, however, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, change this Z to a C because it's a ZAR verb. And then we just added on appropriate subjunctive endings. So comencemos with no stem change, and then nosotros conjugation of the subjunctive. And then that concludes comenzar, both a ZAR verb and a stem change verb in the subjunctive. Just to review the pronunciation, we have comience, comiences, comience, comencemos, and comiencen. Last but not least, I'm going to go through this one a little bit quicker. It's just another example of a verb that is a ZAR verb. So the Z is going to have to change to a C. But it's it's also a stem change verb, but it's a different kind of stem change verb. It's not an E to IE like comenzar or empezar that you can see down here. It is almorzar, and that is an O to UE stem change verb. Again, this whole thing about stem change is nothing new in the subjunctive. This is Spanish 1 kind of recollection of things. So here we go, a little bit faster, because you know that all the Z's are going to change to C's, that the O is going to change to a UE, and all of the boxes, with one exception, not going to do the stem change in the nosotros conjugation. So here we go. I don't know. I think I might have to write it. Here's the thing, you guys. Over there's a wall, and behind me there's a desk, so we really can't back up much. I'm gonna write up on the board. I'll move. Just bear with me for a second. So I'll talk you through it, and then once I move, you'll be able to see it. It's also available for you already in your curriculum, your materials that I provided for class. So we have almorzar, which means to lunch or to have lunch. And it's an O to UE stem change, and the Z is going to change to a C. In my yo conjugation, if I took it back to the yo box of the present tense, I would have almuerzo, and that would be spelled A-L-M-U-E-R-Z-O. Our second step would be to drop the O, who would add appropriate subjunctive endings. That Z would have to change to a C, and that would be our conjugation, the yo conjugation in the subjunctive. So we have like this: A-L-M-U-E-R-C-E. My computer battery is my battery's running low. I'll fix it in a second. Then the two conjugation: almuerces. Next one, almuerce. Up high, we're gonna skip. Down here, we'll have almuercen. And up here, remember, the Z is going to change to a C, but the O to UE is not going to occur. That stem change is not going to occur. We're going to go back to the O that was originally up there in the infinitive. So we have A, L, M, O, R, C, E, M, O, S. Going to go through these two verbs pronunciation, and then this video will be done. We have, once again, how did we get here? Because I think it was in the way when I was writing it. I mean, it's pretty good that I have whiteboard paint painted on an extra bedroom wall, right? Like, we're working with what we got, honestly. We have the O to UE stem change that's occurring right here. We have the Z changing to a C. That's going to occur in all the boxes except for this. The Z is still going to change to a C, but we go back to the O that was found in the infinitive. So just really quickly, we have almuerce, almuerces, almuerce, almorcemos, almuercen. And this one down here that acts like comenzar is empezar, and it is pronounced empiece, empieces, empiece, empecemos, empiecen. So just to conclude this video, remember that I said at the very beginning of this that this would be the last video that we would do. My battery might die. Hold on, don't leave me yet. No, really. But here we go. All the other videos we're going to be making sentences in the subjunctive. All of these videos so far have been kind of like a pre-intro to the subjunctive and how to conjugate all the verbs. So remember, right now you have an exemplary video for regular verbs in the subjunctive. How do you conjugate them? Irregular verbs, just reminders for them. Stem change verbs, spell change verbs, and with this one, car, gar, zar verbs. Anytime you have any question about how do I conjugate a stem change verb, or how do I conjugate a car, gar, zar verb, or how do I conjugate a spell change verb, or regular verb, or what are my irregular